Okay, welcome back. Mr. Akintobi joins us. Mr. Akintobi, good to see you.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Kayode did not get the memo, so both of us, we got the memo for wearing black today.
Yes, and white breast pocket handkerchief.
Fine, you know, I'll just step aside.
but it's okay. Mr. Akintobi, let's get started with Nigerian News Direct. That's where we get started from. The big headlines, part of what we just spoke about not so long ago. Mixed reactions trail Tinubu's Japan visit. Mixed reactions trail Tinubu's Japan visit as Nigerians decry empty booths at summit. Japan pledges $5.5 billion fund for the whole of Africa. What do you make of it?
Well, it's been a mixed bag. There have been some good coming out of it, as well as a few things that we can complain about. A couple of things that hit me was the fact that President Tinubu used the opportunity to advocate for 2 seats for Africa in terms of as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, which is a very big deal. I think it's been long coming. I think Africa actually deserves to have some representation on that committee. And of course, Nigeria being one of the juggernauts in Africa, the president was actually advocating out of those 2 seats, one should come to Nigeria. So I think this was a good place for him to make the claim or make the request. So I think that was one good thing coming out of there. The second good thing, of course, was the fact that Japan is pledging so much money in aid, in infrastructural loans and things like that, 5.5 billion to African countries. Although sometimes I'm a bit circumspect when foreign countries begin to offer to throw money at developing nations. What is their motive? There's always got to be an interest, an enlightened self-interest behind. And nobody's that magnanimous to want to throw that kind of money and just dash it out to somebody. So there's an underlying interest. What are they looking for? Is it our mineral resources they want access to? Is it our oil and gas? Is it our vast market of 230 million people in Nigeria, 400 million people in West Africa? What does Japan really want in exchange for this money? I think we should interrogate that a bit further. The other thing that I also think is kind of ironic is that President Tinubu at that forum lauded Nigeria's security apparatus as having contained insecurity in Nigeria on a very day when we were still talking about the massacre in the mosque in Katsina. So I think that was a bit ironic because it kind of showed him up a bit that insecurity is far from being arrested in Nigeria. And here he is boasting about it on an international stage at the same time when such a horrific massacre is happening at the same time. So I think that was a bit of a drawback in terms of the things he spoke about there. Then, of course, there's a fiasco about the Nigerian booth being unmanned, and I think the government's reasoning is rather shallow in terms of the basis they gave as to why the booth was unmanned, that they didn't go there for Trade Expo and they went there to have strategic talks which will occur behind the scenes. Well, the fact that we even had a booth at all is marking our presence and also gives anybody an opportunity who wants to find out more about Nigeria, discuss strategic alliances and things like that, to at least have some measure of representation. I think the fact that the booth was there in the first place, I don't think it needed to be inaugurated. I think the fact that it was there, it should have been manned, and we should have been ready to take questions from any of the people who stopped by. I think it was a blight on our presence and participation at that event that such a fiasco, a public relations fiasco, would occur, that the booth is unmanned and just a random patriotic Nigerian would be the one to go and stand in to take questions from interested passers-by and other participants in the conference.
In one breath, they thanked him for his patriotism, and another breath, they called him ignorant. I don't know why these guys write like this, because I felt a bit offended for the guy. I don't think he did it out of bad intent. No. He just felt like, okay, let's do this. Perhaps they felt that this is embarrassing the nation.
Yes.
As Kayode had said, this is not the day and age. In fact, what happens in your room can be made public if you're not careful. That's how the world now works. So I feel they should have addressed that issue without necessarily downplaying or calling him, I'm not saying ignorant of what, but the way it came across, it didn't really come out well.
Yes, I've noticed this about the president's communication team, is that they have a tendency, they don't know public relations very well. They have a tendency to come out swinging, and they're very combative, argumentative, always trying to excuse things and try to find ways to explain their way out of things that are very simple to explain. And I don't think that this battle-ready approach is always appropriate for corporate communications at the highest echelons of our government. And I don't think this one was handled very well, why you would call the man ignorant when all he was trying to do was give a positive face to our country in the presence of foreigners, where he saw a gap. And I think he should be lauded for his patriotism and not lambasted or belittled.
Well, maybe that's a little bit too late. They're coming for him now, Secretary. In fact, the New Telegraph also leads with TICAD9. If one thing, TICAD has gotten a lot of publicity from this.
People didn't even
free
know
publicity. A lot of people did not even know what TICAD
Never
was.
heard of it before.
And you see, Tinubu demands 2 permanent UN Security Council seats for Africa, moves to address root causes of insecurity in Nigeria, and of course that pledge. We can talk about how almost 50 African leaders are in Yokohama, Japan.
Yes.
I'm talking about 50 heads of government from Africa.
Yes.
Were sort of shipped or invited, whichever way you want to call it. They landed in Japan and they're having conversations. I mean, today will be Russia, another day it's China, the next day it's either Europe and all of that. And there have been issues around that, because you don't see all of global leaders coming to any African country to have any kind of summit, and Africa says, you know what, we're earmarking $10 billion for the EU or for Asia and all of that. So is it just where we find ourselves, how we find ourselves, and we have to deal with the cards that have been dealt us, or we can do better?
Well, how come we didn't end up going to Kigali or Addis Ababa or Johannesburg or one of these places and talk about inter-African cooperation to lift all of us up? Why do we still have this mindset, this colonial mentality versus imperial overlord mentality that says that for us to develop, we need foreign intervention? We still have this notion that the developed nations have the solutions to our problems better than we have the solutions to our own problems. And for as long as we have that mindset, we'll be fully dependent on external interests that have their own enlightened self-interest to pursue in our continent. Japan, as I said earlier, is not just magnanimous, and neither are the other world powers that attended, wanting to throw charitable contributions at you just simply because they love the black man and they're not racist, and they just feel like we've been dealt a bad hand and we need a leg up in our affairs. I think it is denigrating for anyone to look down on us to that level, despite the fact that we're shown on the world stage that we have the intellectual capacity, we have the human capital, we have the resources to develop ourselves. And as you said, why is it not the flip side, whereby have we ever seen a situation where the Western world is coming to Africa for a summit? Africa is the one offering to contribute so much to their own well-being and development. Well, historically, those countries are much further ahead along the developmental index, all the indices, they're way ahead. So you might look at it from the standpoint of the fact that, well, a more prosperous and well-to-do big brother is offering to pull up his less privileged, still trying to grow, little brother taking baby steps, trying to pull him up. That is the benevolent view. But if you take the practical view, you know there's more to it than that. And I think TICAD exemplifies that if we look at the more unspoken, unwritten factors at play, that those world powers see us as inferior, they see us as beneath them, and they see us as needing their welfare, their charity. And I don't think that's a good psychological boost for us. First of all, there's a perception among white Anglo-Saxon, European people that black Africans are intellectually inferior. That is the truth. They've always believed that we are just one step removed from Australopithecus, that we just recently got up on our hind legs and started walking on two legs, and that we're just starting to get away from being savages. And as a result, they are the ones that need to modernize us, civilize us, educate us. And when you see these kind of gatherings, it speaks to that superiority complex that they have, that says they're better than us and we can't get anywhere unless they give us a leg up. I don't agree with that notion at all. And I've always advocated that Nigeria or Africa close its borders for an infinite amount of time. No external intervention. Let's not have any dealings with the outside world. Let us look internally, inwardly. And I think, like China did, I think by the time we open up a decade or two later on, we'll be a formidable force to reckon with and won't have to go to the TICADs of the world anymore.
Well said. Nothing to add, Mr. Akintobi. Let's go to the leadership newspaper. That is leading with CSO's others list qualities for next INEC chair. Just above that housing estate rotting away. I want you to speak to both issues. So there's the display of some pictures here somewhere, I understand, in Nasarawa State, that urges housing estate rot away in Nasarawa 4 years after inauguration. I don't know the specific area now, so let me see. Okay, I think it's here. Abandoned housing unit at the federal estate in Angwarere Lafia in Nasarawa. So that, we've gotten the exact location. 4 years after, you can see grasses, weeds all over the place. If you go all over the country, you see things like this, which is why we say this is money just lying down there. The private investors can come and take over these things, and the monies we're looking for running around to get, we could get some of them internally. I would like you to speak to that, as well as, for me, the bigger one, Mahmoud Yakubu's tenure, the prof, will end, I think, in November, December. We'll be having a new INEC chair who will be appointed by the president according to law and confirmed by the Senate, which is something that everybody has been fighting for a long time, that given the fact that the incumbents are always, participants in the polls, giving them that exclusive power to make appointment is even jeopardizing it at the end of the day. And there is a valid argument to that. And Justice Ways has a fantastic proposal that has not been implemented. So CSOs, others are listing qualities for them for the next INEC chair. If you were to join these CSOs in listing, let's begin from there.
All right.
What would you be looking at?
Well, the jury is out on Professor Jega, but there are some people who say he's acquitted himself well. I think he's superintended 3 elections in the 10 years that he's been in office. I think it's 3. And the jury is out, despite the fact that many of those elections were judged not to be free and fair, and they were marred by irregularities. But there are some who say he's been the best INEC chairman we've ever had. But as you've correctly pointed out, that commission, the first word of its name is independent. How independent can it be, no matter who you put there, if the person is appointed by a person who has a vested interest in the outcome and is confirmed by people who also have a vested interest in the outcome of elections? So it can't be independent. And I don't think by our very human nature, anybody can be objective to the point of being unbiased, non-partisan, and totally neutral. We all, no matter what our circumstances in life, we have personal biases, we have personal interests, and it's very difficult to separate your personal biases or your personal preferences from your official assignment. So I think that for as long as the way the appointments are structured and the chain of command, at the end of the day, who does the INEC chairman report to? I don't think personal traits or personal attributes can make a difference in the performance. So we say, okay, we've had a university professor, we've had many, matter of fact, most of the people who've headed that agency have been academics. Scholars, academics. But their tenures have had mixed reviews. We can't really say that by you being an intellectual powerhouse, it enables you to perform better. So should our universities begin to have departments of electoral studies to where we have professionals who actually study this as a discipline and become professional electoral practitioners to where they have the book knowledge apart from personal integrity, which of course goes without saying, should be a key factor. But I see that the various past heads of INEC have been drawn from all aspects of academia, and none of them has really risen head and shoulders above anybody else in terms of performance. So I think what we're seeing is the fact that being an academic is not automatically tantamount to performing well. So the first criteria should be, irregardless of whoever is going to be appointed, the way that person is appointed should change. I think that is what is now going to throw up a better crop of candidates than if we just pick people the way we've always been picking them. Yeah, they are men of integrity, they are of unimpeachable character. I don't think Jega or Gobadia or any of the people who came before had any questions about their character. They're all above board people, and I don't think any of them has openly been caught in a scandal where there's been miscarriages of justice in the electoral process, despite the fact that the opposition has always cried foul. I think that's just the way of Nigerian politics, is that the vanquished or the losers don't accept defeat readily. Not everybody is a good luck Jonathan who will throw in the towel and say, I concede. Everybody wants to fight and say it was unfair. And
clearly, pardon me, clearly he's like longest serving at this point, done 2 elections apparently, you know, 2 general elections, 2019 and 2023, because he came in right after the 2015 election.
Right.
So I think for what it's worth, he's been very well fortunate. So the point is, who's going to be next? Yeah. And I'm glad you've reeled out the criteria.
Yes. And
we have to ensure that we do better, because this 2027 election, Mr. Akintobi,
he's hotting up.
I love that. That is the word to use. But there you have it. We have to thank you so much, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, Public Affairs Analyst. It's always a pleasure having you on board. I am still ruminating on the point you made about Africa. I think that's something everybody needs to go back again to watch and just try to digest it. But we thank you very much for your time on the program.
My pleasure always. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we talk about that victim, the core member who was dehumanized. What kind of psychological help do we need for her, for other victims alike? And what kind of psychological intervention do we need for the men themselves who perpetrated this act? That's in a moment. Please stay with us.